Continuing the tradition started with Halo 3, Halo 4 would feature terminals hidden throughout the levels, these focusing on the Didact's backstory. One terminal can be found on each level, starting with the second level, for 7 total, and they can be found on any difficulty. The first terminal can be found on the level Requiem at the very end of the level. As you're approaching the back of the Terminus Tower where the level would end, head under this ramp and you'll find the terminal. The second terminal is found on Forerunner during the assault on the first tower. You can load up Rally Point Bravo to save some time. You'll come to this symmetrical platform opposite a door to the next area. Under this door is the terminal. The third terminal can be found on Infinity right after you meet up with Lasky. You can also load Rally Point Bravo. Right after the Lasky cutscene, you'd normally go forward, but instead turn around to find the terminal. The fourth terminal is found on Reclaimer just after the Librarian cutscene. Load up Rally Point Bravo to save a little time if you'd like. After the Chief gets his evolution advanced, leave the room that you spawn in and, rather than heading straight into the elevator across the hall, turn right to find the terminal. Terminal 5 is found on Shutdown, in the third spire you're directed to. You can always fly straight to that spire, skipping the first 2, or load up Rally Point Delta. After entering, you'll take a gravity lift up and come to this area with a ton of platforms connected by light bridges. Take this path to the left, and you'll find the terminal. The sixth terminal is found on Composer when you first come to the atrium with the Composer itself, right after the cutscene with Dr. Tilson. You can load up Rally Point Bravo to save some time. From where you enter the atrium, head to the right, and you'll find the terminal in a small cave. And the seventh and final terminal is found on Midnight not long after you board the Didact ship. Load up Rally Point Bravo to save some time if you wish. When you get to the third room with this layout, basically the third room in the level, you'll find the terminal behind the central structure. And those are the locations of the 7 terminals in Halo 4. Each terminal gets you an achievement per MCC norms. Unlike previous terminal achievements, the Halo 4 achievements aren't puns or lore references, but the names of the terminals themselves. Terminal 1 gets you the War achievement, referencing the Human Forerunner War that took place millennia before the Forerunner War with the Flood. Terminal 2 gets you the Lord of Admirals achievement, the title taken from the commander of ancient human forces seen in the terminal. If you're interested, his name is actually Forthenko. Terminal 3 gets you the Charum Hakor achievement, named for an ancient precursor world that humanity made their home base towards the end of the war with the Forerunners. Terminal 4 gets you the Flood achievement, not much to dive into there. Terminal 5 gets you the Knights achievement, taking its name from the Promethean Knights, whose genesis is depicted in this terminal. Terminal 6 gets you the Justice achievement, named for the Didact taking out a perceived justice upon humanity. And Terminal 7 gets you the Cryptum achievement, named for the Didact being sealed into a Cryptum just days before the Halo array fires. The end of this terminal also has a series of Forerunner symbols like the CEA terminals, which were related to an ARG going on at the time called Section 3. Entering the symbols into a portal on Halo Waypoint would, in conjunction with other symbols, unlock certain things in Halo 4. And of course, finding all 7 terminals gets you the Terminus achievement. Pretty straightforward. Lore-wise, the Halo 4 terminals are pretty straightforward, introducing fans to the ancient human empire that once waged war with the Forerunners, only for it to be revealed that these ancient humans were running from the Flood, cleansing Forerunner worlds to keep the rest of the galaxy safe. The humans are devolved as a punishment for their acts of aggression, and the Forerunners must then take on the deadly Flood, eventually preparing the Halo array as their only countermeasure. The Didact has his own plans, however, searching for a way to make Forerunners immune to the Flood infection. When this fails, his Promethean warriors volunteer themselves to be composed, becoming the first wave of Promethean Knights. This initial wave appears effective, but not nearly effective enough, so the Didact turns to the remnants of humanity, conscripting them to bolster his army of Prometheans. As punishment, the Didact is sealed in his cryptum on Requiem, his wife the Librarian, hoping he'll have time to rest, heal, and awaken to help humanity obtain the mantle. And we all know how that goes. The terminals tell a very interesting story on their own, but due to necessity leave out a ton of context, such as the fact that ancient humans had an alliance with ancient Sanshayum, aka the Prophets, or that the Human Forerunner War took place 9,000 years before the Forerunner Flood War, or the Didact being corrupted by the Flood Gravemind, which led him to creating the Promethean Knights in the final years of the war. There's even more, but the specific lore that's left glossed over really isn't all that important, not for the purposes of these terminals. The terminals are meant to give additional context and depth to the Didact as a character and enemy in Halo 4, not to retell the entire Forerunner saga of books, one of which hadn't even released at the time Halo 4 came out, funny enough. As y'all may know, when Halo 4 came out on the Xbox 360, and even when it was released with the MCC on Xbox One, the terminals didn't play in-game like they now do. Instead, a separate app would play them. A cool little consequence of this original design, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is this little bit of dialogue that pops up when you first access a terminal in Halo 4.
This node is caught in a loop trying to access something it's calling the domain. An off-world data repository of some kind, though I'm only able to extract bits and pieces of the complete exchange. I'll log it for investigation later.
Essentially, Cortana was able to download the data from the terminal to be processed at a later time. On its surface, this is an easy way to canonize the Chief finding the terminals without seeing their contents, which would introduce a whole ton of plot holes if that were the case. However, if one extrapolates, one could make the argument that this same explanation would cover the Chief finding terminals in CEA and, to an extent, Halo 2 Anniversary, which he canonically did. Again, downloading that data, processing it later. More importantly, is the direct mention of the domain, the first in the games. The dialogue tells us that these terminals were trying to upload this data to the domain, but were unable to. Fans of the Forerunner saga know why, but for the more casual fans, it would act as a way to set up something yet to come. Let's not dwell on what ultimately did come, but, for what it was at the time, it's a cool little detail. And before we go, let's talk about Terminal 0, the prologue terminal that was only released online. These days, it can basically only be found on YouTube. The terminal, Julum Dama, does what the title implies and introduces the leader of the Covenant faction we fight in Halo 4, Julum Dama. There's a ton of backstory that's only in the books, but it's not important for this terminal. All it intends to do, all it needs to do, is introduce fans to Julum Dama as the leader of this new Covenant, and show that they've been waiting outside of Requiem for years, trying to get inside. Then, in 2557, a derelict human ship is found floating towards Requiem, and Jul orders his fleet to intercept it, leaving us at the doorstep of Halo 4. As you can probably guess, this terminal released prior to Halo 4 to, again, get fans to the doorstep of Halo 4. I could spend some time lamenting that Jul doesn't really have a presence in Halo 4's campaign, but that's not what this video is for. What I can lament at the moment is that this terminal doesn't exist in high quality like the others now do, and can basically only be watched on YouTube. Like with CEA's 11th terminal, I hope 343 can do something about this in the future, but for now, it is what it is. But that covers Halo 4's terminals. What are your thoughts on them? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're itching for more lore, check out my video on the Halo 4 audio logs, a lesser known collectible in Halo 4. Otherwise, this has been Halo Canon, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.